Update. Learned yesterday that I have a daughter with my ex. My fiancé and I are in shock. Original post. L30 male and my fiancé 29 female did not start talking to her best friend Kate until a couple months ago. They were friends since elementary school through high school, but lost contact their first year of college. And here's the fun part. Kate and I met when we were in college and went out for 3 years. She was an absolute nightmare. Very clingy, controlling. I wasn't allowed to have any girlfriends. Every argument turned into a shouting match. I guess her obsession with me possibly cheating on her was all projection because she was the one who did. This completely broke me. I didn't date for a year and did some therapy. The whole relationship really messed with me mentally. Met my fiancé a couple years ago and here we are. Very happy and about to get married in December. She's talked about Kate a few times in passing, but there's a million Kates out in the world. Never considered they were one and the same. She told me she really wanted to find her since it's been a long time and they used to be such close friends. I'd also invite her to our wedding since they always promised to go to each other's. I thought that was great. Well, she found her on Facebook and they started chatting and reconnecting. And even Kate's mom, who my fiancé says was like a second mom to her too. They agreed to have lunch so my fiancé could invite her, and Kate's young daughter too, who also went to the lunch. My fiancé took a picture of them together, then showed me later on that day. That's when I realized and told my fiancé. By the way, I did tell her about this relationship and how toxic it was. My fiancé was in shock too. Couldn't see her friend being that way back then, but she was really understanding that I wasn't at all comfortable with her going to the wedding now. Even if maybe she's a different person now, I don't want those sorts of negative reminders on a day meant to be a happy moment. I don't want an old ex who made my life hard there. My fiancé tells me Kate has messaged her a few times angry about this, when they always said they'd be at each other's weddings. She keeps telling her that she needs to talk to me, but I've refused contact. Apparently didn't know she was marrying me either until the lunch, but didn't say anything because she assumed we could be adults. Both Kate and her mom keep coming after my fiancé to change her mind and think I'm being an a-hole for not letting her go to her own best friend's wedding when they've missed out on things in each other's lives, like Kate's having her kid. I feel bad that my fiancé is getting the brunt of this. And to top it off, I know she was really looking forward to her best friend being there. But she won't invite them if I'm uncomfortable with that. Am I wrong here? Now for the top comments before reading the first update. Nah, Kate is learning that there are sometimes far-reaching consequences to our behavior. Don't go to your childhood best friend's wedding because you cheated on her now fiancé years ago, is apparently one of those lessons. It sounds like your fiancé is on your side here, which is good. Hopefully you two can just support each other through this. Also, as far as past behavior being used to judge someone goes, Kate's college behavior is a lot more recent than her high school friendship with her fiancé. You don't invite your abuser anywhere, much less your wedding. And you can tell where Kate got her pushy, bullying, abusive behavior from when her mother keeps insisting to be invited. Doesn't seem to me that Kate has changed much if at all. Agree with this, and sounds like your fiancé needs to let go of a friend who was out of her life for a reason. If X had been more mature and understanding, maybe they could have had a perfectly pleasant friendship going forward. But she already insulted you for not being an adult, and is harassing your fiancé. Neither of you need her in your lives. I hope your soon-to-be wife can see that friendship is best left to the past. It would be a bad idea for her to be there. Why is Kate pushing so much? And her mother too? When your fiancé and Kate have been out of touch for so long. I'm seeing red flags here. It all seems like a little suspect, like what a coincidence. Glad your fiancé will support you in this. Don't invite her and definitely don't talk to her. Total red flags. Would not be surprised to find out Kate knew exactly who she was marrying, even before they reconnected. Now for the first update. Before I met my fiancé, I was in a relationship with another woman in my early 20s for 3 years. It was a very toxic relationship that I got out of and completely cut contact with her. She also happened to be my fiancé's childhood best friend, but they lost contact when they graduated high school. She's only mentioned her friend in passing and seen some old childhood photos of them. However, we never made a connection that her friend and my ex were one and the same, since she got a pretty common name. We only found out recently because my fiancé tried to find her so they can reconnect and maybe have her come to our wedding. They have met and talked. Then my fiancé showed me who she is and I told her. My fiancé knows now she's my ex, and I'm not comfortable with an ex at our wedding. But apparently she's been trying to contact me since finding out I'm the groom. She managed to find my work and came to see me in person this morning. Then she tells me her daughter is mine, and I left before she found out she's pregnant. Her daughter is 6, so the timeline matches from when I left her. I'm not sure if it's my mind playing games on me, but I'm seeing a bit of resemblance in some of the photos she's shown me of her. I really don't want this to be true, but she says I need to take responsibility for my child, and she's willing to do a paternity test if I don't believe her. She never tried to find me before because she knows what she did to me, but now that we happen to find each other back in our lives, she felt this was her opportunity to come clean. I've learned all this today, and I'm still in shock. I don't know what to tell my fiancé. She knows her friend is my nightmare ex. Now there's a possibility we have a child together. Not sure how she would react in this situation. Hell, I don't know what to do right now either. Only thing I think about are the images of her daughter. What the hell do I do now with this information? How do I even tell my fiancé without losing her? I'm terrified of that happening. Now for the top advice before reading the last 2 updates. This is definitely one for a lawyer. Because even if the kid is yours, you're going to need help making sure the crazy doesn't creep back into your life. In the meantime, absolutely do not invite her to the wedding, and tell her that all communication has to go through your lawyer. She is not to contact you or your fiancé directly. She is willing to do a paternity test. This would be an amazingly good moment to go chat to a lawyer about how to proceed or whether to proceed. My guess is, lawyer will advise you to do exactly nothing without a court order. From a relationship point of view, you're gonna have to tell your fiancé and ASAP, before crazy ex does. Keep her in the loop. That's what marriage means. And of course, pause the wedding until lawyers, etc. From the point of view of kid looks like me, it might mean nothing. It's perhaps just confirmation bias. Go out in the street or playground, choose a random kid and ask yourself, okay, let's say this one might be mine. Can I see a similarity? And I guarantee you'll see. Oh yes, he/she's got my eyebrows/legs/eyes. This. An old friend of mine had to ask me for a paternity test on my daughter. I was confused because we'd never had that kind of relationship and weren't even in contact with each other when I conceived her with my husband. But his another wife had seen me and my husband and kids, and my daughter is the only blonde blue-eyed one of the then 3, and he was blonde blue-eyed. So his wife created this whole story in her head that we had a secret affair and my daughter was his, and even went as far as crying to his family. My husband and I said, if you're paying. Well, guess who was not her father? Yeah, her husband. But guess who was cheating? Yeah, her. See, your lawyer, don't rely on looks. Even I admit, if someone saw me and my friend together were just my daughter, it wouldn't be far-fetched to believe she was his. But she isn't. Lawyer. Do not do anything without talking to a lawyer. Do not take a paternity test without a court order. Ask a lawyer if she has missed a time frame to establish paternity. Some states who have as little as a child's 4th birthday to establish/challenge paternity. I would hope that Opie would want to be in a kid's life and help care for her, assuming she's his, even if he could legally get out of it. I know for me, not doing that would be a far bigger deal breaker than having a kid. Edited to add, still talk to a lawyer before getting the test. That way you have legal advice regarding custody, etc. for as long as your paternity is confirmed. Otherwise, you might get tricked into saying something that could decrease your custody access. Now for the second update 2 months later. I decided to have an honest sit-down with my fiancée to tell her exactly what my ex/her old BFF told me. She needed a few hours away to clear her head and get it. I was so scared she was gonna decide this was too much for her and decide that she can't do it. But my fiancée, the amazing woman that she is, said we're in this together. We got in contact with a lawyer. My ex agreed to cooperate with going to court for a paternity test. And yesterday we got the results back. I am the father. This little girl is my daughter and have just missed 6 years of her life. And with my toxic ex, I tried so hard to get away from, of all people. She came at us with that "I told you so," and I better be ready to step up and be in their lives. She didn't even say my daughter's life. She said their lives. My ex seemed really satisfied with us. For some reason, it makes me uncomfortable. Before this, we had talked about what would happen if it turned out I was the father. One thing we discussed was if I'd be a dad or just a father from a distance, paying the child support I owe until she's a legal adult. My fiancé didn't feel right with the second one, and to be honest, neither do I. Can't imagine not being involved in her life, and I would like to get to know her. It's the thought that I'd have to deal with my ex for the rest of my life, though. Part of me doesn't feel like I can mentally handle that. Knowing how she was back then, what drove me to break up with her, then make it difficult for her to contact me. Everything's hitting me all at once. I'm not sure what to do to process everything. On top of that, know how to make sure to be a good father to this little girl. She is innocent in all this, and I don't want to hurt her. You can just meet your ex at a mutual location to trade off your daughter, and keep the transactions between her brief. She only contacts you in regards to your daughter. Didn't know that was a thing. My main concern is that she'll want to use my daughter against me, or try to make it harder to have some sort of custody agreement, because I do want to be in her life. Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. Get the lawyer to negotiate custody terms. It will cost money, but it will be worth it. You need way more advice than some place like this can give. Like lawyer advice. It is entirely possible for you to be in your daughter's life with a bare minimum connection to your ex, but there is going to be some if you choose to go that route. You will need legal advice to navigate that though, not randos and Reddit's advice. I'll be contacting my lawyer today for sure. I'm just looking for any advice right now in the meantime while I'm trying to calm my anxiety. You can 100% have a relationship with your child with a minimal contact with your ex. Relax. Get your home ready for your child. Get a bed, dresser, clothes you might think will fit. To get your home safe and ready for your child to stay. Because I imagine at some point you'll have a social worker to do a walkthrough of your living situation. Yes, we have a guest bedroom we plan to use as her room when the time came. Since we know she's my daughter now, we're making preparations. Thank you, this has been very reassuring for me. Part of me wants to be allowed to feel excited that I have a child, and believe me, I am. But also couldn't stop feeling the dread that there's no way I'd ever be able to escape from my ex now. So all this really helps. Now for the latest update, more than a month later. Things are still a little chaotic, but I'm glad that I've got a lawyer to ensure everything is done by the court, and we've got the ball rolling on that. Everyone who made comments on my last post made me feel reassured and less panicked about the situation, especially talking about how me and my ex don't need to have direct contact with each other unless it had something to do with my daughter. I've tried hard to get away from her and her toxicity, so thinking that we had a kid together meant she'll make my life even more hellish the way she did before. Well, she still can, but at least I've got a lawyer now to fight my battle. First issue that came up since finding out was her refusing to let me meet my daughter at all, unless I gave her $900 that was supposedly for my daughter's school. But I already knew that was BS. And I was gonna let it go and wait for the court to grant me visitation. Yes, I will be paying the child support I owe, but I'm not going to hand my ex cash like that. At least her mom stepped in and convinced her to let me meet my daughter. Her mom was the one to drop her off with us. I was so nervous, but it really went well. Shy, of course. After an hour, she really opened up, and it's crazy to know who this sweet kid came from. Playing with her at the park brings out the little kid in me, and we end up having a blast. My favorite thing has been taking her to places she hasn't been to before and watching her light up. It seriously warms my heart. My fiancé left the first meeting be between me and my daughter, but they finally met last week. It still feels crazy knowing I have a kid. And we missed out all this time together, so I have no clue what I'm doing with her. I'm glad to be getting involved in her life though, and trying to ignore my ex and all her BS, make sure it doesn't affect my relationship with my daughter. She's so little and I don't want her to see any fighting between us. My fiancé is such a rock star though. She's been my biggest supporter in all this, and I can't believe how lucky I am. I'll do everything to show her how much I appreciate her. This is such a wholesome update. Give yourself, your daughter, and your fiancé plenty of time to adapt to the situation. Your first meeting sounds adorable, and I hope it continues in this vein. Expect it to be a process though. There will be ups and downs, and that's to be expected. Little kids have big feelings and can't always manage them in a way adults understand. Remember, consistency is everything. No matter how difficult your ex makes it, keep your promises to your daughter, show up on time, and be there. Your ex's mom seems to be a stabilizing influence, and I hope she's able to convince her daughter to put her child's needs before her own pettiness. Your fiancé sounds amazing. Keep letting her know how much you appreciate her support. That's the plan. I don't want to mess up with my daughter because of the issues with my ex. It's not fair to her at all. I hope her mom's able to convince her too. Because this is not something my daughter should have to be dealing with. And if things can't be civil, that would be better. Have your lawyer fight for use of My Family Wizard or something like that, with 100% of communication goes through the app. All receipts, joint calendar, gets rid of all the he said, she said, when it's all there in black and white. Lots of people recommended that in my last post. I looked into it myself and brought it up to my lawyer. Amazing to have something like this set up and really has eased my nerves a bit. Your fiancée is your rock, making the best of a complicated situation. She has been so amazing, and I love her for sticking by my side. We decided to do a little nice 2-day getaway last week to show her how much I really appreciate her being there for me with all these huge changes going on in our lives. She deserves it more than anything. I'd also like to say that as your daughter gets older, you can slowly phase out all contact with your ex, because eventually your daughter will be an adult and able to connect with you without her mom involved. Stay strong, it won't be forever. Thank you. The idea of being stuck with my ex for life filled me with so much dread. I don't know if there were ways to have limited contact while still having things such as custody and child support worked out. You're right though. It won't be like this forever.